I'm going to say something that might make some fellow atheist head spin, but I'm a spiritual person by nature. When I say I'm a spiritual person, I don't mean spiritual as in the sense that I believe in the Father in the sky and stuff like that. No, that's not me. However, I do have a spirituality, and it is technically considered a religion, and I put religion in quotations because depending on each Unitarian Universalist, it's something different. For some Unitarian Universalists, they will say it's a religion. I say it's not. I'll tell you my reasons why I don't think it's a religion. Number one, there is no set doctrine or belief system. Thus, as an atheist, makes it a little bit easier for me to follow instead of a religion where you're told to follow certain types of dogmatic rules. And also, with Unitarian Universalists, you could be whatever you fucking want to be. For example, you could be atheist and be a Unitarian Universalist. You could be Jewish and be a Unitarian Universalist. You could be Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever, and be a Unitarian Universalist. There's no specific religion set or belief system that's supposed to be valued, even though there is a creed, but the creed is pretty much humanistic. Treat everyone with dignity and worth and stuff like that. Common things that everybody in society should do. Now, let me explain to you why I'm a Unitarian Universalist. Just being an atheist isn't enough for me. Because, well, a lot of people do say about atheism, and it's true, a lot of atheists tend to be depressed or tend to have a very bleak view of the world where there's no optimism and stuff like that. And I could attest, before becoming a Unitarian Universalist, yeah, that's pretty much true. Because you view the world as it is, and that's pretty fucking depressing. You know, you gotta find reasons to get up every single day. You gotta find reasons to, breathe, and you gotta try to find reasons not to jump over a bridge. But Unitarian Universalism is the comfort of meditation and contemplation on how we could serve humanity better at the same time of realizing that there are things in this life that we cannot control. And that is comforting for me. Now, I don't wear my mala beads as much. I have them on my VCR with my rosary beads and my other cheap mala beads, which I will wear around my neck. But these are real, and I bought these off of Amazon, and these are made from an actual tree. I forget what tree, but they still have their scent to it. But see, here's the beautiful thing. With religion, with Catholicism, or Christianity, to be exact. Well, let's go with Catholicism, because this seems to be the most divisive. You see Catholicism, you see Catholics divide amongst each other. You see Catholics who believe in creationism, and you see Catholics who believe in evolution. And there's no room for discourse. There's no room for disagreement. Because to one Catholic, if you say, well, God didn't press the button to say, and there shall be light, you could say there's the metaphor of God saying, then now there shall be light, as the metaphor for the Big Bang. However, the Catholics that believe that God created the universe are going to say, no, that's not a metaphor for the Big Bang. He made the Big Bang happen. And you have Catholics that are like, you're such a goddamn idiot. Look at science. Even the Pope says that the Big Bang happened. And you'll have And you'll have Catholics argue at each other like that. But when you're a Unitarian Universalist, all ideas are welcomed at the table. I haven't gone to my Unitarian Universalist place in a long time, but I don't think I feel the need to now. I'll tell you why. Because Unitarian Universalism values are my everyday values as a person. And it would be nice to go back every now and then for the Christmas service and all that. And I should plan on doing that, going back every now and then, just to make sure people I'm alive. I didn't bail out on this identity. But the reason why I don't feel the need to go anymore is because I'm comfortable enough where I can, when I want to, meditate using my mala beads or not, but using my mala beads because if I don't, I'll fall asleep. It's true. I can meditate so good that I can make myself fall asleep during it. This is why I use mala beads. But the point is, though, it gives me comfort knowing that there's somewhat hope in this world. Now, I'm not saying that if you're an atheist, you should be a Unitarian Universalist. I'm not saying that. If you're a naturally spiritual person, like I am, you can't escape that you're a naturally spiritual person. Doesn't mean you have to believe in God. Okay? I certainly don't believe in God. Because there are just things that are scientifically explainable. For example, plants, trees, life, animals, humans. Evolution is very key, and DNA is very key in that. All these scientific discoveries are very key in that. So the God of gaps theory, that if we can't explain, therefore God created, kind of goes out the window. However, I don't discourage yous who are believers in God, because maybe for them, they all believe in evolution too, but they could say, well, it was God that made the evolution happen. And for them, that's their explanation. For me, I don't see the evidence of a God existing, but we agree the fact that evolution happened. Being a UU is fairly more liberal-minded group of people. When I say liberal-minded, I mean there are conservatives who are Unitarian Universalists, but they're very liberal-minded. They're not minded as if they're not minded like people who think like this are going to go to hell, blah blah blah. No, most UUs, even if they're conservative, they're pretty liberal-minded, meaning they're fine with people doing whatever they want to do as long as they don't harm anybody else. That's pretty much the mindset of a Unitarian Universalist. Now, once again, I don't have to talk about it. Like, I don't have to talk about my atheism because I'm comfortable in it. But you can be a Unitarian Universalist and an atheist at the same time. And guess what? It's up to interpretation. When I used to go all the time to my gathering place, I would call it a gathering place, like a lot of people would. We wouldn't call it a church, because guess what? It's not really a church building. It's a gathering place. It's like a community coming together. But it's up to interpretation, as a spirituality should be. Because Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Jainism, they all have a doctrine to it. Some better than others. But point being is that there's no room for interpretation. You either accept it as it is or you don't believe in it. But with Unitarian Universalism, you could bring whatever you want to the table. And guess what? It's all up to interpretation. That's the beautiful thing about it. Now, once again, I don't have to talk about it every single day of my life. I don't have to meditate every day, because the values I put in play are in my everyday life. That being said, this is why I love gospel music, even though I'm a non-believer in God, because there's just something humanitarian in a lot of gospel music, and I think a lot of fellow atheists dismiss. Like the metaphors, for example, the metaphors for one of my favorite songs by Tommy Dorsey, "Take My Hand, Precious Lord." or Lead Me, Guide Me, both songs sung by Elvis and very beautifully. But those songs are a metaphor for someone is there to always help you along. For example, one of my favorite gospel songs, it's You'll Never Walk Alone. And it was done in the 1960s by Jerry and the Peacemakers. But yet, that song has a metaphor. You're never alone. Someone is always there to help you. And it could be God for religious people, but for me, it's always my close friends and family. That's what it is for me. They're always there to help me. I'm never alone because they're always there to help me. That's what I love about gospel music, is that it's up to interpretation in the right mindset. Now, in the wrong mindset, it's either you accept the words as it is, or you don't like the song, or you don't believe it whatsoever. However, I mean, I don't have to have a belief in God in order to like gospel music. Okay? It's the same thing with religious films. I love religious films. Doesn't mean I think they're great in their storytelling. For example, I love Kirk Cameron's Left Behind movies. Are they unrealistic in a lot of ways? Yeah. But guess what? It's better than the Nicolas Cage shit. I mean, the Nicolas Cage version is laughable. But the Kirk Cameron version, hey, it makes you think. Guess what? I'll say this about the Kirk Cameron version of Left Behind. Some of the scenes in the movie are completely unrealistic. Like, for example, while a news anchor is doing a weather report in the middle of the desert, an asteroid doesn't fall from the fucking sky. That stuff doesn't happen. That's completely unrealistic in the movie, but there's just something about the movie where you're thinking, is there a God? I don't know. What's out there in the universe besides us? Who knows? But it makes you think. It makes you think. It's the same thing with King of Kings. For example, like when Jesus gives a Sermon on the Mount speech in the movie King of Kings, to those who aren't believers in Jesus or God, whatever, you can watch King of Kings and be like, you know what? This Jesus fellow was a great person, if he ever existed. But for those who are hypocritical, fundamentalist Christians, they don't follow the word of Jesus. They don't. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that you can point out their hypocrisy by telling them, hey, you really believe Jesus' words? Watch this movie and tell me if you really believe those words. Like, I love how all these televangelists say that they ask for all these donations from people. If you just plant your seed, God will cure your cancer. If you plant your seed, blah, blah, blah. And it's normally a metaphor to the mustard seeds shit in the Bible. And I was an extreme, and I really believed in God while I was a Christian. So this is how much I know the Bible very, very well. But here's the problem with that. They take all these donations, all these mustard seed plantings, and they buy jet planes with them. They buy all expensive jewelry and watches. And first of all, what did Jesus say in the Bible? And I'm going to quote Jesus. I believe he says this in Luke, the book of Luke, or the book of John. I forget which book it is, but he does say this. It is much easier for a poor man to go to the gates of heaven, it is much easier for a poor man with a camel to go through the eye of the needle than a rich man to get in the gates of heaven. I had the word scrambled around my brain. But he says that in the Bible. So half of these televangelists, like Joel Osteen, well, not him, I'll give him a pass. But most of these televangelists, they're going against the person they even believe. They go against Jesus' word, even though they say they believe in him. Yeah, I watch Cold and Dusty's videos. But, But the thing I want to point out the most here is that you could be a spiritual person and belong to a spiritual group like Unitarian Universalists and still be not religious. I'm certainly not religious, and I belong to a spiritual group. Um. Oh yeah, and I want to say this. The other beautiful thing about Unitarian Universalism is that you could be gay, lesbian, transgender, whatever. You could do whatever, you could be whatever identity you want to be, and you will not be kicked out because you're different from everyone else. That's the beautiful thing about it. I really like that fact about it. Anyway, what? Wait. Dusty got banned from Twitter? When? What the fuck? When? The censorship shit has sailed so much from the dock, it's ridiculous now. Okay, I'm going to go on a little rant about censorship here. The FCC, the NSA, the people at the YouTube, and people on Twitter think that by regulating people's speech, that people's feelings aren't going to be hurt. First of all, speech is speech. Hateful or not, people should have the right to express it. And guess what? If people aren't given that right to express their freedom of speech, violent people can get other violent people quietly, and that's dangerous. They could get other violent people to gather at a quiet setting, and they could cause real harm to others. But at the same time, dissenting speech, like atheists from extreme Christians and extreme religious people, guess what? Their voices being silenced are just a pure example of how censorship affects everyone, not just hateful people. And this is why it's so BS. Anyway, that's my view on censorship. It's so fucking stupid. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.